Okay, so check this out. This is a $79 Canon LPE6 battery. And this is an $89 PowerExtra 50Wh V-mount battery. Now, does that $10 really make a big difference? Yeah, I think it does, and I think you're going to be pretty impressed when you see just what a difference $10 makes in your battery. I'm the kind of guy who has never actually owned or used a 50Wh V-mount battery in his life. Whenever I get V-mount batteries, they typically tend to be so expensive, I want to get them big. I really never go below like 95 watt-hours for any type of V-mount battery. So when I got a chance to check out the 50Wh battery, I was very, very curious to see just what kind of power punch I could get from such a small and portable battery. You can see this thing is very small. You can actually slip it in your pocket. It's not going to be a problem. Just because it's small, there are definitely some features that I pretty much just considered requirements on any modern V-mount battery. The first thing is this: you got to have the right ports in it. And this thing has a classic D-tap on it, which is always needed on any V-mount. But it's also got something that I consider critical today with today's mirrorless cameras, and it has to have a USB-C option in it. Now, if you look at this PowerExtra battery, this actually has some unique ports on it. It actually has 3 USB ports built into the top. It has a USB-C, a USB-A, and a micro USB port. What that means is that this little V-mount battery can be one of those things you can use it to power your cameras, or let's say you're in an airport, you need to power your phones, or even your computers. You can use this. It's a good little power brick to have. Throw it right in a laptop case. It's so small. Going to make your life pretty easy. But what I want to know is, how does this help me as a shooter? And that's where one of the other features of this that I consider very, very helpful to come in. And that is, if you click on it, there's actually an LCD screen here on the battery itself. The cool thing about this is it'll actually show you what your percentage is. So if you have 88% power, 23% power, it'll let you clearly see that. And it's going to show you your power draw from each of these USB ports here. So it's one of those things you can really keep an eye on your camera and what the power draw is, and make sure you're not going to kind of run out of power and lose a shot on a set. The other thing about this that's really important to focus on is, well, let's be honest, you're using these things to power really expensive equipment, and you want to make sure that this thing protects that equipment. The good thing of this Power Gear battery is it does have built-in circuit protection. That means you have protection from ultra voltage, overcharging, and over discharge to keep the life of the battery longer. It also protects you against short-circuiting, overheating, and overcurrent protection. So they did a good job of putting in really good protection in this battery, which is something I want to make sure I have before I even think about slapping it on my camera. Last good feature about this that I would say is really useful is the fact that, yes, you can charge this if you have a V-mount charger, but let's say you don't have a V-mount charger, or you're traveling and don't want to carry it with you. You can not only discharge from the USB-C, but you can charge this battery from the USB-C inputs. That means most of you who have USB-C chargers out there, you can put this and charge it overnight, and you're going to be good to go. So that's a really helpful thing, especially if you find yourself traveling with batteries like this. Now let's go ahead and see how this thing works together with a camera. Now I have a Canon R5C here, which is a notorious terrible battery drainer. And I've done some videos on it. You can check them out up here if you want to check the links, where the Canon R5C actually doesn't take that much more energy than you expect. It's just the fact that the Canon LPE6 batteries that comes with the camera are terrible. And this is where a V-mount can completely change this type of camera for you. And if you have a Canon R5C, go ahead and find a way to power it with V-mounts, because it's going to completely change how you work with the camera and really get you to like this so much more. Now I have done a couple things here. One, I have a small rig cage, because I put a cage on everything I have, and I have this small V-mount mount point here on the cage. It's super out of the way. I can shoot with it. It never gets in my way. I love this. One of my favorite pieces of equipment I have, and it's only like 25 bucks. If you have a Canon R5C or any other type of mirrorless camera, do yourself a favor and get something like this. Now, because I have that on there, I can take this V-mount battery and I can just slip it right on. And you can see now it lives right on my camera. I can still put monitors on here. It's not going to get in the way. It's really small, out of the way. And if you look, I can easily just go all day with it. Last thing I need, because the Canon R5C will let you charge and shoot at the same time, I just need a USB-C cable. Now what I have here is I just have a little Condor blue USB-C cable. So what's going to happen? I'm just going to hook this up here to my USB-C port on my camera. Get that in there, boom. And then I'm just gonna hook it up right here to the battery itself. And boom, there you go. Now you can see I have this small USB-C cable plugging into my camera here, and it's completely out of the way. If I'm a handheld shooter, boom, I can even do photography like this. And if you look here on the back, the other benefit of having this is now it shows me that I'm using this and charging it at the same time. That means that while I'm using this, it's also charging the battery in there. Because when you use a V-mount on a camera like this, what's great is not only do you get to use all the power options for the battery, but when the battery runs out, guess what? It switches over to the internal battery so you can go that much longer. And to showcase just how much of an extra charge you can get from a battery like this, I went ahead and did a time-lapse test. And I set this thing up as simple as I could. And what I did is just cut my Canon R5C and just let it sit on with the LPE6 battery. And you can see here, if you look at the time lapse, this battery would take my camera about 1 hour and 15 minutes before it drained out and was completely empty. Now that's about par course for what you'd expect for the power drain on this Canon R5C. But check it out when I put this 50 watt-hour battery that only costs $10 more onto the camera. I started the time lapse and this thing just ran and ran. It actually ran so long I miscalculated how much time I would need, and you can see I got to 4 hours and 10 minutes and I ran out of time on my time-lapse camera. So I came back and restarted it right at the end, and you can see that the combination of the V-mount and the internal battery, I got almost 5.5 hours on this one set of charges, okay? That is an incredible, huge difference. And even if you take the fact that this battery, internal battery, runs about 1 hour and 15 minutes, that shows us that the V-mount by itself powered this camera for about 4 hours and 10 minutes. That means that this extra $10 of battery gets you over 4 hours of difference in the camera. That is an absolutely gigantic thing. I was just so happy to see just how much I could get from this 50 watt-hour battery. So if you have a mirrorless camera, especially something like a Canon R5C or Blackmagic camera, I hope you take a look at this because I think this is something that could completely change how you approach shooting on set. Anyway, guys, love to hear what you say about this. Leave me any notes and comments down below. And yeah, go out there, keep on shooting. Yeah, I'll talk to you soon.